Most mega projects in the world are useful. However, there are also quite a few insanely expensive ones that have been built and do represent modern engineering marvels, but are literally useless and/or empty, and a complete waste of hundreds of billions of dollars. From a $15 billion nuclear reactor that generated only 1 hour of electricity to a 55-kilometer-long bridge tunnel system that is nearly impossible to use. Such projects are construction behemoths that blow the mind, yet are utterly useless and empty. What are some of these majestic yet useless mega projects? Why were they built, and how come they have resulted in nothing positive? The first on our list today is the Monju nuclear power plant in Fukui, Japan. Nuclear reactors are the most complex, fascinating, and dangerous mega projects out there because they require extreme precision, a rare breed of engineers and architects, and extreme cautiousness. Additionally, they are technically nuclear bombs, which are the mothers of all weapons ever created. Japan is notorious for its obsession with nuclear power. For decades, it has been building one nuclear reactor after another. The reasons for this are the country's lack of fossil fuels, high population density, and its massive state-of-the-art industrial complex that consumes unimaginable amounts of electricity. This also meant that the country has an excessive amount of used nuclear fuel. So in the early 1980s, Japanese nuclear physicists decided to try and build a sodium-cooled fast reactor near the Tsuruga nuclear power plant in Fukui. This reactor was supposed to use recycled nuclear fuel to generate electricity quite efficiently via a complex process that involves jiggling the nuclear reaction. And off they went to build a 7-acre concrete and steel behemoth on a heavily secure 1 square kilometer land lot with a few support buildings scattered on it. By 1986, the plant was fully operational. However, the reactor was doing nothing, and we literally mean nothing. The experimental plant simply failed to generate electricity. In fact, until this very day, it only generated 1 hour of electricity. Sadly, it also cost $12 billion to build and operate. In 1995, a sodium leak caused a major fire, forcing a shutdown, and the management of the reactor decided to cover up the whole ordeal by editing the security footage. It was such a huge scandal, the reactor was not restarted until May 2010. But once again, it generated nothing, and another incident soon took place in August 2010. This time, a super heavy piece of machinery fell inside the reactor's vessel, and a shutdown followed. We forgot to mention that throughout the years, engineers found nearly 15,000 defects in numerous parts of the plant, including some in the critical safety systems. Finally, in 2017, a decision was made to dismantle the reactor at the cost of about $3.5 billion. Mind you that the process to tear it down is not supposed to be complete until 2047, and as far as we are aware, the reactor is still standing and people working in it. We can only assume that this was a failed $15 billion nuclear energy experiment or something more fascinating, such as keeping Godzilla well-fed and happy between his gigs as the star actor of the Godzilla movie franchise. Anyway, let's move on to the next empty and useless mega project. In one of our previous videos, we discussed some of the most colossal and amazing bridges in the world, which you totally should check out. However, if you are a bridge enthusiast, you have probably noticed that we did not mention the Hong Kong Zhuhai Macau Bridge, HZMB, which is the longest open-sea fixed link in the world. The reason we did that is because it is a completely useless bridge that less than a few thousand cars cross every year, and it is nicknamed the Bridge of Tears, for reasons that will shock you. We will be discussing them in a bit. The Hong Kong Zhuhai Macau Bridge is a very intriguing 55-kilometer bridge tunnel system that, as the name hints, connects Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau in China. It consists of a series of 3 cable-stayed bridges, an undersea tunnel, and 4 artificial islands that span across the Pearl River Delta. It is both the longest sea crossing and the longest open-sea fixed link in the world. It cost about $19 billion to build between 2009 and February 2018, and was not officially opened until October 2018. The reason this bridge is utterly useless is because it is almost impossible to cross it by car. That has to do with the fact that both Macau and Hong Kong are semi-autonomous regions on the south coast of China. So drivers have to apply for a special permit to travel on the bridge, and the related fees are quite hefty too. It is actually sort of crazy because it is easier for Chinese citizens to take international flights to numerous international destinations than to get a permit to drive on the HZMB. One would expect tens of thousands of cars to go back and forth all day and night on this magnificent one-of-a-kind bridge in such a heavily populated area of China. But there it is, always empty. In fact, Macau would not issue more than 400 permits per day, and they never get that many applicants. Drivers even have to get a security permit to cross the bloody bridge. So why on earth did China build it? Unfortunately, no one knows the right answer to that question. As for why it is nicknamed the Bridge of Tears, 22 people were killed and another 600 injured while building it. According to one expert, the bridge cannot handle the pressure of traffic because the 4 islands that sustain the bridge are sinking and the seawalls protecting them are failing. Apparently, construction firms that built this bridge cut corners and even used low-quality concrete in some parts. Well, that might explain why this bridge is empty, feared, and even hated by many people in the region. Even tourists do not like it and prefer to take the scenic ferry across the delta. Since we are talking about tourism and beautiful scenery, let's go to Hawaii for our next useless and empty mega project tour. Frankly, we do need a vacation. Hawaii is perhaps one of the most breathtaking islands in the whole world. With endless white sand beaches, mountain peaks, forests, and state-of-the-art infrastructure. On this natural wonder lies a $1.3 billion highway that slices through the forests, mountains, and hills, making it the most beautiful highway one could ever take. It is Interstate H3, America's most beautiful but controversial highway. Now you are wondering, did we just say interstate? And does that mean it connects to the U.S. mainland? Do not be silly. Hawaii is an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, about 2,500 miles from the nearest city on the mainland in California. The word interstate was used to merely emphasize that the project was funded by the U.S. federal government. The H3 highway stretches for only 16 miles, connecting Pearl Harbor on Oahu's southern coast to the Marine Corps Base Hawaii on Mokapu Peninsula. So it is quite short too. The immense expense has to do with the fact that the terrain of the area is mountainous and thus required unique engineering, not to mention blasting some tunnels right through mountains. It took the better part of 4 decades to build the Interstate H3. When the project was announced in 1960, it was met with strong protests from the local native Hawaiians who have a few sacred sites in the area. These protests, coupled with some lawsuits, delayed the construction until 1986. Eventually, it opened in 1997 in a rather unhappy ceremony because no one wanted it. Moreover, environmentalists were unhappy because an equivalent of a small forest had to be cut during the building process, not to mention the pollution it caused. Nevertheless, it is quite something, and one of its most impressive features is the 1,600-meter-long Tetsuo Harano tunnels. Today, despite the endless eye-watering beauty it offers, the super expensive H3 is almost always empty. No one uses it except the U.S. Army rather infrequently. Even tourists are told that angry spirits from the ancient native burial sites that were destroyed during the construction process would haunt anyone who uses it. So, I guess we will be skipping this amazing empty mega project during our vacation. You know what? Since we are in America and discussing controversial, hotly debated mega projects, let's take a look at another useless American mega project that cost $15 billion. We'll keep this one short. When Donald was the President of the United States, he insisted that a beautiful high concrete wall divides the USA and Mexico in order to regulate the movement of people and put an end to smuggling. So far out of the 1,000 miles proposed wall, only 470 miles were built. And here is the scary thing. Only 46 miles are actually new since the rest was already there and was merely refurbished and reinforced. Well, sort of reinforced, because in some areas parts of the wall fell, and for the most part, the wall is quite climbable. Here is another insane fact. According to construction firms, the wall will cost $28 billion per year to maintain. Now that's what we call a real waste of $15 billion on something that has been proven to be utterly useless. Seriously, you could build 150 small, cute, sustainable towns for that kind of money in most parts of the world. But in America, it gets you a 46-mile-long wall that wobbles in bad weather. Anyway, that's it for today. Please let us know in the comments section about any empty and/or useless mega projects near you. And please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, and do let us know what you think of this video. Thank you.